Hi guys, so I wanted to discuss today about how an initial bass line for a song can evolve over time, and how you can kind of develop further ideas and put those into something you're already playing with a band. And to do this, I'm going to do a demonstration of a bass line that I played on a song called Let the Love of God by a band called Yad many years ago, and I don't think there's a version of this online anywhere, so I'll have a look and see if I can. I'll put a link in the description, but I have a feeling it's not out there anymore. But I'll demonstrate the line. Now, this is something that I came to. This is a band I played with when I was very early on in playing bass. I only been playing for maybe not even a year. So it's really the first time I've been playing with other people and developing my own bass lines. And this was quite a complex song in terms of its chord structure. So the initial bass line that I had for it, not really knowing anything better, was just following the root notes of the chords, because you can't go too far wrong with that. So when I was first playing with them, this is pretty much what I was playing. It was, basic and functional, but it's, it did the job. I started, this was sort of, I was starting to learn the instrument, I was starting to get used to it. And coming from that, I wasn't really very satisfied with that, and it wasn't very exciting to play live. So that developed over a fairly short period to start bringing in some chromatic runs, at least for the first bit there. And this is what's developed onto what we actually recorded it as. So this is the only recorded version of the bass line that's out there as far as I'm aware. So that early one developed into so as you see, it's still fairly basic, but it started adding in a little bit more interest, a little bit more in the terms of that chromatic run into the note. And that's sort of where I'd sort of got to at that point. Also, what was changing over this time was the tone that I was using. It was very much starting out, I was cutting out all the treble, boosting the bass on the amp, and it was just a big boomy mush. And I'd started listening to more broad music by that point, so the sound that I got for it developed from what was probably this initially to something more along the lines of sort of getting much more that sort of twangy back pickup tone. And that developed further into what I guess we'd call the final form of it, which is something I started playing and developing when we were playing the song live. And I was very much getting into sort of jazz and funk and like much more complicated music at this point. And I probably went a little bit overboard with what I was playing with it for what the song needed. But the initial song from that basic bass line developed into something more like this. As you see, started to put a lot more stuff into there, playing around a lot, getting octaves and pops and, lots of sort of finger funk stuff, really, lots of staccato 16th notes into there and, having fun with it. Now, sort of on reflection of that, I mean, that was an important time for me as a developing musician to sort of push my boundaries and figure out what I could do on the instrument. Um, Looking back on it now, I think something more around what I actually recorded was probably a more tasteful bass line for it. But if I was to record the song again now, it would probably be somewhere between the two. But yeah, I think when you're uh, coming up with a bass line, obviously you've got to start out with the basics and work out what you need to play. Um, and now I would suggest just sort of pushing your boundaries and seeing what you can do within that chord structure, um, but not necessarily go all out on the final finished version. So, it's important to develop yourself a bit and develop your bass lines, but come up with something suitable for the song. So that's just a bit of a short history of development of one of my bass lines, and hope you enjoy it. And if I can find a version of it, I'll post up the link.